And we're live. Welcome back, everyone, to the HVAC 2.0 show. Today we got Ted and Reedy with us. And I think we're going to be kind of talking some different KPIs, some sales metrics, specifically for salespeople and uh, sales managers, things that these types of people should be looking at, whether you're trying to either, grow a sales force, or if you're a salesperson wanting to see what your numbers are and what they could be, if you kind of potentially make some tweaks of what that could look like. Uh, where would we want to start with this?
Well, I got you guys' numbers and Ronnie's. And so Tanner is at 11,000 revenue per lead, 71% closing rate, and Reedy's at 8,100 revenue per lead, 52% closing, and he's got 202 leads. What was it? Your software has bugs or something?
Yeah, there's it's not taking all the info.
Lead log. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So and then Ronnie, I think Ronnie Reedy has sparked some competitive spirit in Ronnie. Because his numbers are going up. And I think if we get to the point where the report is easier for him to send, because Reedy sends the report every time and he has his own. He uses the report, but he embellishes it so it's easy for the homeowner to follow. And that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to get to the point where Reedy doesn't have to spend any time on the report. And then other people like Ronnie gets a lot of leads, so he can't spend any time on reports. So we need to get it so that people don't have to spend any time on these reports. And the reason for the report, in my mind, is it's a tremendous amount of information that you're going over with a homeowner. And so it ends up, and particularly if they're seeing multiple people, a lot of it sounds great and everybody's getting great feedback and gratitude over the fact that they're really being well educated. But I think that crystal clear image fades with time and it blurs. I'm getting old and my memory does the same thing. So I really like the idea of sending a report afterwards that allows the homeowner to re-experience the visit and all the things that they learned. Likely load range, 6 functions, the questions about, is there anything that you'd like your new system to do that your old system didn't? Do you have any comfort issues in your house that you're hoping to solve? All of that stuff brought back through the report, plus the static pressure and duct limitation and offer to take static and do measure quick, all of those things. Offer to do the comfort consult, sizing it to the ductwork or sizing to the green, all of that. It's a lot of information. I can't even remember it. So how's a homeowner who's heard it the first time going to be able to remember it?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do a report that allows them to walk themselves through that experience. I think also they're going to be, as they're going through the report, they may change their mind about things. They may decide that, hey, this is going to be a 15 to 20 year decision. Maybe we do want to spend $2,000 or $3,000 more. So anyway, Ronnie's numbers are 7,208 revenue per lead, 55% margin, and this is sort of the number that I really feel is going to make a lot of sense to pull everything together for the sales manager and business owner and salesperson, which is profit per lead. And Tanner, maybe you can talk a little bit about that, because it seems to be
Yeah.
that this is the thing that you're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with there's KPIs for kind of each individual thing within an HVAC business, and I feel like when it comes to the sales department, profit per lead ran, uh, or for other terms, gross profit per lead. We're looking at how much gross profit are you getting for every lead that you run on average across all leads. And so I feel like this is the most useful and the best KPI. Like if you only paid attention to one KPI, this one might be it. Just because it's the strongest, finger on the pulse uh, KPI on a single metric, anyways, because it's taking into all these other things. Because like, okay, you know, something that a lot of people do look at is closing rate. Well, closing rate is great and all, but you can have a really high closing rate and not do very well. But you can also have a lower closing rate and be doing pretty well. It's just, it depends on what's the average ticket size, what's the average gross profit margin, all these other things. Uh, this metric just includes all that. So it's like if you're only going to look at one, this is it. And then like you can kind of, and then if you for me and for other people that are business owners, you can look at this to go, okay, I'm trying to consolidate. If you're trying to consolidate metrics that you're looking at, so it might be like, okay, well, for the overall business, I want to look at CAC to LTGP, which is cost of acquiring a customer to lifetime gross profit. That's like the big number of this. Like if this number is working well, you're making money, period. And then when you start to kind of narrow things down to go, okay, for my sales department, what is my,
Is a
gross?
figure on the pulse of the sales department. I think it
Yes.
also allows you to create really nice incentives
Yeah.
for the sales department, because you know how profitable their work is,
Oh, yeah.
and so you have a pretty clear picture of well, first of all, you have a pretty clear picture of how everybody's performing,
Yeah.
and it also gives you a pretty clear picture of who really does the best with your leads if you have more than one sales guy.
Yeah. It lets you know it's a because really what KPIs do for you is to be able to predict where you're going and when is a good time to sprint. So if you've got a guy that's, you've got a few people that's just killing it and it's getting into the busy season, what direction to sprint with your sales department. Meaning that, okay, when we get these types of leads, my top guys are like all the top guys, they get the best leads, period. I
Right.
feel like that's the best way to do it. You feed them the best leads because you're getting the most, return.
Return on that lead investment.
Exactly. And so it's a way of being able to look at it and predict what's going to happen. You can look at these numbers and go, okay, I know if I give Ronnie a lead, he's going to give me about $4,000 of gross profit for each lead I send him. Well, that can tell you a lot because then you're going to go, okay, well, how many leads can Ronnie run? That's the next question.
Right.
If you're looking at that, versus if you've got someone else and they're like $1,000 of gross profit per lead, well, then you're not just going to give them, you're not sprinting with them. You're going, hold up, we got to walk first. We're not
Right.
walking properly. And so then you can figure out what's going on, get them to where you're going
We got to
before
take you to the batting cages. We got to
Yes.
work on your swing.
Yes. Because it'd be the same way of, if you've got a service tech or you say you have two service techs and one guy, you send him out on calls and his average ticket's, $1,000, but then you have this other guy and he seems to only get service call fees. Well, are you going to send all of your, 10-year-old system, all of your best customers to the guy that only gets service call fees? No, you wouldn't do that. Same way with salespeople, but I feel like service techs, that's better seen than the sales guys. The sales guys, there's people that they'll get the most revenue in, but then when you actually look at what they're doing, it's like, yeah, because he's got a high closing ratio, because he's discounting everything to where you're making no money whatsoever. He's undercutting everybody in the area because he's using all the discounts he can. So yeah, he's bringing in a lot of revenue, but then you're not bringing in any gross profit.
Right. Right. Plus, one of the things that we're finding is our process. I don't know if there's another process that sells as much top end equipment. Do you guys know of anybody that is doing something else that's selling so many green speeds?
No.
I mean, when you're talking to the rep, they're like, aren't they asking how is it that you're selling so much good equipment?
That's what my guy does. He doesn't
What do you do?
know. He doesn't know, and he thinks it's magic.
It's magic. Right.
Mhm.
Right. And that's kind of the same thing I hear from when Ronnie talks about his rep.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of factors there of why that is the case. I think the way that we have broken this down and analyze it and how we go about it, for one, most, and I'm sure Reedy has seen this before as well, like of the people that I've come across that sell high end equipment, like the first thing they always, when they kind of talk about how they'll go through it with the customer, is they always bring up electric bills, energy savings, SEER ratings. Like those are the things,
Right.
they
So they're
might say,
selling on this is a great investment because it's going to save you so much money.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, they'll do that, and then they'll bring up comfort, but they bring it up in this like generic, like they know it's more comfortable, they just don't know why.
Yeah.
And so
Or how to
when
describe it.
exactly, and so when you try to sell something that way, and especially when you're going 55 or 60% gross profit margin across all equipment that you're selling, you end up with this top of the line option that's like obscenely expensive. You don't articulate why someone should get it very well. And the only thing that you really push is energy savings or rebates, which any
Right.
decent homeowner with decent math skills is going to go, how am I going to save money when my power bill is $150 a month? And so, those
I'm
people are just not
spending
going to
extra
sell very much.
$10,000 to save $20 a month.
Yeah.
The magical,
Hmm.
mystical, evaporating $20 a month of energy savings.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So, yeah, talking to Eric about this, I think there's a lot of value in both to us and to the salesperson and to the business owner to create a tool that allows automatic tracking of all of these numbers.
Yes.
And have a, let me see if I can add this back over here. Okay. So this is a meeting I had with Eric on Friday, which I posted the link. Eric said that we can have this go out public, but this is sort of the preliminary way I'm looking at this and talking it through with actually Tanner. I think it's this conversation may have started with you because you started talking about CAC, and I'm like, felt like patting you on the back. But, so, and then in the conversation with Eric, it occurred to me these numbers are so familiar to all of us. We need to step back because probably some of what we want to do is talk about the numbers that are familiar to most people at the top, and then help them see that from those numbers, you can probably calculate some of these other numbers, or just with a little bit of extra work, they can capture the data from the other numbers and get a lot better insight. And one of the things that we want to do is we want to create a leaderboard. Just like I said, you know, Ronnie heard Reedy's numbers and that sparked him to be a little bit more competitive. I think if we have a leaderboard where everybody in HVAC20 can compete with each other, that'll be fun. I mean, it gamifies it, right?
Yeah.
So, and particularly with small businesses, a lot of them don't really track these numbers at all.
Oh yeah. I mean, very few, especially if you I imagine if you took a poll of every HVAC company in the States, the majority of them are going to be less than $1 million in revenue. And so especially those people, they might track like gross sales for their sales department. Odds are they might
Monthly,
even do
or
that. Yeah.
how is
Yeah, it's like that. That's like as good as it'll get for those, from the majority
okay?
of them, because they're really just kind of like, okay, at the end of the year, what was the total amount of dollars that came in? They probably don't even segment. Okay, this amount of dollars come in through install and sales, and this amount come in through service. They're just like, how much do we get in total? And so that only leaves a small percent of, you know, HVAC companies that are bigger than that, and those guys are way more likely to track more KPIs. But even then, I feel like a lot of them's really going to be just looking at, you know, what's uh, total sale, gross sales, closing ratio, and average ticket. Those are probably going to be the only three, though the majority of them are going to track. So when you start getting into a lot of these, and I guess one thing I would also want to preface, like there's a, you know, we have a long list of different metrics here to look at. Uh, I, Again, going right back to what we were talking about just a second ago, gross profit per lead is like the good starting point. Like you have to know a few of these in order to calculate gross profit per lead, but like you don't have to start out with 10 different KPIs. And I don't even know if I would recommend really keeping track of like every single one and constantly monitoring it, more so than just find the more important one and track it. And then you use all these other ones down here to troubleshoot. So if your gross profit per lead is low, that's when you start looking at all these to go, okay, why is it low? Is my closing ratio low? Is my, you know, is maybe my gross margin is too low? Maybe something's wrong with my prices. Maybe I'm selling lower end equipment because I've got my high end equipment priced too high. I'm trying to put 60% flat across the board, and that's putting my high end equipment at 35,000, and nobody's buying it. So everybody's getting my single stage equipment at the same gross margin at 10,000, but I'm only making a few $1,000s on it. Therefore, I'm only selling those equipment. Like, you know, you can start to dig into those things to try to pick apart what could be the problem.
Yeah, yeah, and this'll, as we were talking about, if you're keeping track of your profit per lead, and then you also keep track of your average sale, that should really help you get a better understanding of where you might want to lighten up on your margin.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can drop price of the high priced stuff a little bit, you can still have your profit per lead go up. And one of the reasons I like the idea of tracking profit per lead is you're not punishing people for margin. Does it make sense what I just said?
Yes.
Reedy, what do you think of that?
I think it makes perfect sense. If you think about it from and I don't own a business, but if you think about it from a sales perspective, the truest way to know is really basically what we're talking about, profit per lead, because you know we've got a lot of opportunity to sell things. If we can sell higher end equipment, then what ends up happening if you do that 60% margin straight across the board or whatever, and you want to know why are they selling this low end equipment? Well, it could be just because of that. And it gives a lot of times people I don't have a way in our software to track profit per lead. I don't know that. I'm sure there
Okay.
is a way, and I'm sure they are tracking it, but I don't know how to do that. And I think that if that was out there, I think what would happen is it would make everyone see, everyone, including
Well,
the owner.
yeah, you don't want to be punished for discounting a $25,000 system.
Right.
That's gonna, there's gonna be 10,000 profit on that system if you drop it a few $1,000s, but the average profit per lead in the company the other guys are selling is 5,000 or 4,000 or 3,000. Like,
Yeah.
like, look, I got you because I sold a better box. You made $10,000. Now the margin might have been 45, but you made 10 grand.
Right. And
I could have got you a 60 margin on that piece of crap, but you would have only made 3, 4, 5,000 in profit. Here you made 10, but you didn't make your margin. I mean, is this business about making margins or is it about making profit?
right. Because in almost every sales class you ever go to, you're going to hear stop selling boxes. And yet that's what, when you are dogmatic about a margin on a top tier piece of equipment and refuse to lower it slightly, you're selling boxes. That's
Right.
what you're doing. And it gives more power to the owner of the company. It gives more power to the salesperson. It gives more power to the customer, in fact, if you'll take it and look at it instead of being a copy and paste mechanism.
Yeah.
And I think that's what most people experience, that copy and paste thing.
So the other
yeah.
thing I was thinking is, if you do profit per lead, you don't have to set bonus goals. And you don't have to set bonus goals based on revenue, which you really don't have any control over because revenue is going to come out of the number of leads you get. And you don't have any control over how many leads they're going to give you. So it seems like it'd be much easier for sales management to just say, okay, if you get to make the whole group compete with each other as opposed to competing for an arbitrary number. You don't have to set a sales goal for everybody. You just say, look, go out there, do your best. People who are at 70th percentile of profit per lead are going to get a bonus, and people who are at 90 percentile are going to get another bonus. And then it just
incentivize with lead quality. It's like if you're one of the top guys, you bring in the more gross profit per lead, you get the tech turnovers. You get the ones where they're likely to be they're asking about green speeds to begin with. Like, you're going to be the guy we're going to send out for those situations that are more than likely to buy more expensive equipment.
Right. Right. And the techs are going to want to have those leads turned over to you.
Yes.
Because they're getting their taste. And it'd be nice actually to track tech turnover income.
Yeah.
So that the techs, you could gamify it for the techs too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But and it makes the most sense for a business to look at it that way, because it really, at the end of the day, when tracking revenue is really a proxy for what you're after, which is net profit. So you're just going, okay, if you're bringing in revenue and everything else is working right, we should be getting a good chunk of net profit at the end of the day. So we want that revenue as high as possible. Gross profit per lead, it cuts out all direct job cost variabilities completely out of the equation. So then it's a direct, okay, if we give you a lead, you're giving us this much back.
Money back.
And and if you're a business and you're going, okay, hey, like, again, we know if Reedy's at 8,100 revenue per lead, if let's assume we're, around that four-ish thousand, $4,200 gross profit per lead ran, and you look at that and go, okay, we know if we do a marketing campaign, it on average it costs us, say, $500 to get a customer, and say that's high, or say that's where people's not really wanting to do that because it seems high, but you go, wait, so you're telling me I put $500 in and I get $4,400 out? Well, anybody's going to go, oh, this is a money printing machine. Let me get every single
Works for
penny I
me.
can put into that. And so you can know, hey, when this money machine is up and running, we're putting every bit we possibly can into it, so that way we can get as much as we can out. But you can't do that unless you know where you're sending those leads, so that way you can actually you've got a machine that's efficient enough that you can afford to pay more money than anybody else around for those leads, because you're sending it to your good sales guys that you know is going to convert it. And so if you can be that guy, and if you're the business and you're seeing that and you're working well together, everybody wins.
Yeah, that's the key, the efficiency of the machine.
Yes.
If you don't have any efficiency, the machine isn't going to work.
Yeah, because that's really what these numbers are telling us. It's telling us as a salesperson, how efficient are we?
Yeah.
I mean, gross profit per lead ran is it's nothing but an efficiency equation. That's all it is how much work are we putting in, how many leads are we running, and when we run those leads, what on average are we getting out of it after job cost, after all that. That's exactly what we're looking at, is how efficient can we do this sales job.
So I guess we'll wait and see what Eric comes up with. I think he's already got some of this going on in the software. Have you guys seen it?
Yeah.
I've seen some of it. I've not seen some of the ones listed on here, like the.
No, this isn't in there, but he's already created sort of a matrix
Yeah.
that goes by month and when it's paid and all that. It's complicated. Again, I'm old. Stuff makes me blurry. But I think as we get to the point where we make it easier, more and more of you guys are going to have your numbers in there, and then the leaderboard will start to get good looking. The other thing that we wanted to do in the leaderboard is allow you to use your name, use your username, or put some kind of a nickname in there, anonymized, so that because some people might not want to have their numbers on the leaderboard. I don't know. I was just thinking some people are privacy freaks.
Yeah.
And so like, and we talk about it in the video on Friday. Eric has a way of doing random number generator so that only the user knows where they are on the leaderboard. If they want it that way. I doubt we're going to have anybody anonymous at the top.
Yeah. I wouldn't think so neither.
I mean, you guys that are doing really well, you want to let other people see how you're doing.
Yeah.
And also it's helpful for coaching or mentoring or just for having a target. Hey, I want to do as well as that guy. That's all I had.
Yep. Which let's see. I was trying to I was pulling up one of my spreadsheet templates that I thought we might could use as like to show what that could kind of look like. It's not in the software, but it's kind of showing those numbers and like, you know,
Oh, when you
kind of desimplify.
adjust them, what happens if I change this number? This is what happens to my
Yeah, yeah,
bottom line.
exactly. Let's see, because
Yeah,
I think that's something that like when you kind of see it,
people need to see it.
yeah, it makes so like for here, let's assume if you run 6 leads, this would kind of be some, rough numbers with this look, because really all you have to really have is just, name the lead, uh, what the total revenue was, what was the cost of the job, did it sell, yes or no? And so obviously if they don't buy, then you don't fill that info in, you just have it labeled. But say this is what this could look like. These are some really good numbers. Uh, but a way to kind of think about this is imagine the amount of work it takes to run 5 leads and to complete 3 jobs. You get 51,000 in revenue, you get 30,000 in gross profit. Now, if we just kind of go back to this, let's cut this to what a lot of people make. For even some people, you're selling jobs at $8,000. It's costing you 3,500 for, and you're even doing pretty good. You're at 56 margin if that's what you're doing there. And let's just take all these to the same. We can kind of see what this looks
So
like.
you're gonna show how
This
by
is kind
selling
of,
bigger jobs you can have smaller margin and still make more money.
yes. Oh, but let's go here. You see how our numbers dropped big time. That obviously is because we had bigger jobs, but let me kind of do this. Let me just kind of, let's say we, instead of doing that, let's say we have a high closing ratio. We'll just throw some stuff in there. We sold all the jobs. We sold 7 jobs. So the example before, we made more money with more gross profit and did less jobs. So we're doing less work. We're making more money. And so if you're doing less work, it frees you up more time to do more work. So you can see how when you're pulling on these efficiency levers, where, like we're still 56% margin, like that's still good. That's higher than probably most, honestly. I know everybody that's seen those really low ballers that's, doing complete jobs for $7,500, $7,000. Well, for those people, they have to do 5 jobs,
To
10
make it
jobs to equal one
one
properly
really
sold
good
job.
sale.
Exactly. And so it kind of helps to also just put into perspective, like, if you track some of these numbers and you get your numbers where they need to be, you don't have to be in a spot of like constantly feeling like you have to close every single sale. It puts you in the I don't need the sale, which counterintuitively makes you a better salesperson. Your numbers are going to be better because you're not worried about it. You don't think you have to make, 100. You don't have to have 100% close rate. It's like, oh,
Well, hopefully the free quote process takes the desperation out of the sales process.
yeah, yeah. Well, if you use it and you get good numbers, like you'll be doing well enough that it for the owner operators, it would be similar to, imagine you start out your month, at the end of the month you've got X amount of bills you have to pay. You do a week's worth of work within the first month and you've already made enough money to pay for everything. It makes the rest of the month so much easier. Then it's just, oh, now I'm just making profit now. You make profit, you stack it aside, you get to the next month and you rinse and repeat. It's so much easier. Meanwhile, there's so many people out there that's just they're living paycheck to paycheck at a business level, and they're just running themselves ragged. They're having to, they're working to 10 o'clock at night trying to run as many leads as they can because they can't afford to not get that sale and to not get those jobs and that sort of thing.
They've
And
they've put themselves in a Chinese finger trap.
exactly. and it's one of those things that uh and a lot of times when if you're constantly, like if you're doing a lot of work and you're not really tracking things and you don't know where things are going, you're just working a lot and hoping things pan out. But if you just kind of take a step back, track some of these things and go, okay, well, how about instead of running, whatever my price, whether it's service or install, whatever my prices are, do I run quadruple the jobs, quadruple the leads to get the same amount of gross profit when I could either increase my prices, adjust my sales process, adjust how I'm pricing low end equipment to high end equipment, and just tweak a few levers to where then instead of then you can run 25% of the leads and get as much, if not more, gross profit at the end of the day, and leave yourself way more availability to either do more work or whatever else that you need to do.
So, do you guys have any debriefs you want to share? How far are we into this thing?
We're 36 minutes in.
Okay. We're going to lose Reedy, so you go first, Reedy.
I have a 3 interesting ones. One of them is really good. It was some other company put some work in, and they put 3 green speeds, the older style green speeds from like maybe 2015 or something like that.
What were those? Like 2-stage?
No, they were the early VNA zeros. Okay. And every one of them was oversized. And I didn't get the call for that. What I got the call for was he had a mold spot in his bathroom. And of course, everybody thinks that it's a water leak or something like that. And they sent the guys out there and they said, yeah, you got this bath fan that's leaking. Let's just fix the bath fan. And they didn't fix the bath fan. They didn't do anything. The guys put a dehumidifier in the bathroom. He's doing everything he can. It's a $3 million house. And I told the guy, he wasn't there. So I told the guy who was representing him, hey, I need to send you some information. You need to kind of pick which way you want to go here. And so they decided they wanted to do a comfort consult. So we did a comfort consult. It was a 5,200 square foot house. He had 9 tons in it altogether.
Okay.
So it was a lot. When I checked his static pressure, every single one of them without fail had high duct pressure. And the one in particular, we went through he wasn't there. He didn't answer.
Were they set up proper?
They were not. They were not.
Okay.
He had an enclosed crawl space that the dehumidifiers didn't work. And so it was a good call to do the comfort consult. We settled on, me and the homeowner, we settled on leaving the equipment as it is, changing the ducts. I already set up reheat to dehumidify. We already talked about running the fans.
Did that instantly change things for him, getting the equipment properly set?
Well, he left 2 days after we did that, so I don't know.
Oh, great. Okay.
Went out of the country, but I'm pretty certain it did, because it wasn't set up at all, and it wasn't really dehumidifying. In any event, what we settled on was changing the ductwork, fixing the attic, fixing the crawl space, re-encapsulating the crawl space, doing a whole attic retrofit, and putting in new ductwork, with the understanding that when his equipment goes, that we need to downsize it drastically. is a $90,000 job. He told me before he left, he's a rich guy, he's got the money. He told me before he left, I'm going to sell the house for way more than I made it. I'll be back on the 19th. Let's sign the deal then. And
Oh
so,
my gosh.
yeah, so that was good.
Wow. And no equipment.
No equipment. Yeah. It's a big crawl space. It's 5,200 square feet. And, you know, we ended up
I know how those
$11 a
houses
square
are in
foot.
Pinehurst. You took me around.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a good one. Then I went to a bizarre one that he's got the same thing, except for this is the Todd guy. Remember I talked to you about him. He keeps his house to 68. It's sort of a loose house. They did attic work in there. Todd told him to change the equipment. The bottom line is this guy's got one room in his house that he wants the humidity to be 40%, not 42, not 43, not 45, 40. And his upstairs.
Does he have some type of musical instrument?
It's a stamp collection.
Okay.
And the glue. He doesn't want the glue to go, but the stamps are worth well over $100,000.
Gotcha.
And so I haven't went back to him yet. I haven't even given him anything. I haven't. It's been Thursday. We did that, and I've just
that
said,
was a comfort consult also.
Yeah. It was sort of a backdoor comfort consult. It really was a blower door test.
So it was a free quote conversion, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't do the whole load and everything. You just sort of confirmed what's on the free quote.
Right. This guy
helped him with likely load.
Yeah. This guy, 4,200 square feet, and he's got 9.5 tons.
Oh, geez. And is it good equipment or bad equipment?
No, it's bad equipment.
Okay.
It's
so
terrible.
he's going to have to lean in.
Yeah. Well, Todd put a dehumidifier in there. He air sealed and insulated the attic. Excellent work. Great job.
Thanks.
But the guy in one of his bathrooms, he's got 4 bath fans. And the bathroom is like 10 feet.
I'm hearing about people with these bizarre penetrations where they have fans outdoors and they run them all the time, or they get triggered by humidity or whatever. And you're like, what do you want? You may as well just open a window.
Well, the bizarre thing is that if he keeps his dehumidifier running, it will keep that upstairs at anywhere from 43 to 46%.
Okay.
When it shuts off, it's all over.
Right.
So Todd told him, you need to put in a green speed, and let's go smaller than what you have.
What size green speed?
He told him a 3-ton. I would have told him a 2-ton, just because of what work was done and what's happening now.
3 tons is going to make one heck of a dehumidifier.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and so at the end of it, when we're talking, he tries to push me into making guarantees. And I said, no, sir. I said, I'm not making
for your house.
Yeah. I said, I'm not making any guarantees. Well, why not? I said, because you keep your house too cold. And I said, you've got 1 trillion bath fans that you run. And I said, my advice really to you is to take these stamps and put them in a climate controlled place. And that's what I would do. Because he wanted me to make that one room 40%. And
the one room is part of the whole rest of the house.
And that's what I told him. And so as we talked out, I told him also that there may not be a solution to this. And I said, you need to be prepared to handle that.
People have humidors for their
the cigars.
So you could do the same kind of thing with your stamps.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you'd have a tremendous amount of peace of mind.
Yeah.
And it probably wouldn't have to work very hard because you got pretty good control of your house. But then you don't have to worry about having amazing control of your house all the time. Oh, I got a story. So Ronnie is redoing his basement. He decides that he's going to redo his ductwork and move his. So a few years ago, he did a lot of work to the house. He redefined the attic and spray foamed the rim joists and all that. So the house is tight, right? But the equipment's in the basement, so the ducts are coming from below. Redoes his ductwork, moves the equipment to the attic, so now the ducts are coming from above. Plus, it's an old house. Ductwork was a little small, so he had to upsize the ductwork a little bit, even though the equipment's been dramatically downsized from when he bought it. After the equipment was up and running, everybody complained about how cold it was. So instead of running the house at 71, he's got to run at 74, 75.
Yeah.
And he's like, last time when we made these changes and put this green speed in, the jump in comfort was so astonishing that we never thought, we didn't think there'd be much more upside opportunity. The jump in the comfort has been equal to the last jump.
Right.
Like, I didn't know a house could be this comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because before I thought it was really comfortable. And part of my conclusions, a couple of my conclusions for that, which are not scientific, they're just intuitive. Pull-in returns high is pull-in where the humidity is.
Mm-hmm.
And that allows the equipment to dehumidify better because his relative humidity is running at 39%.
Oh, wow.
He has reheat kicking in at 48. It's not seeing 48.
Right.
So, and the equipment's breathing so much better that I'm sure that airflow through the ductwork and across the coil is a lot slower. So it's dehumidifying better.
Mm-hmm.
So not only is it pulling the more humid air, but it's also dehumidifying that more humid air better.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. The high returns, it does make a lot of sense.
Those high returns, you got, I've forgotten all about them, but you know, if you have the ability to do low returns and high returns, I think they shouldn't be forgotten.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would say depending on where the registers are at. If you've got floor registers, then returns up high. And if you have returns that's in the ceiling, then having your returns down low. Just because I feel like a lot of that just helps mixing.
If you have a good throw on your registers, you can get some mixing and you're going to be okay.
Yeah. But just because, you know,
kind of a small house, there's probably furniture that kind of gets in the way of good mixing.
Yeah.
Did he move the duct from the basement to the upstairs? Because
he moved the duct from the basement to the attic, so everything's in the ceiling now.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
That's very good. Very good.
You had one more.
Oh, the guy. I went to him today. He's a doctor, and another one of these. This is the really expensive part of Pinehurst, and you know, I got over there and it was late, and I kind of knew where we were going because Clayton, he's one of our service techs. He turned it over, and he just told me ahead of time, I don't know how this is going to go. Just see what you can do. And so I went out there. He's also got green speeds. He's got he's got 4 of them. And the one I checked, the static pressure, I checked 2 of them. One of them, the static pressure was 1.7. And the other one,
good Lord.
No, we didn't do it. Someone else did.
Oh, okay.
But he he bragged to me how good his ductwork, and that someone had came by a couple of years ago and sealed up the joints. And I'm just
goodness.
listening.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, and he as we began to talk, I looked at the duct system, and it is the length of not the effective length, but the length of the duct system is probably 150 feet long. It's
All one size.
no, it
It's
does.
step one.
It reduces 2 times.
Okay.
From really big to small. And I just, he's got a 3-ton with a 006 blower on it. That's the biggest blower, 5-ton blower. And I do the static pressure test. I look around. Thankfully it was an infinity control because I didn't have to waste a lot of time. As I'm coming downstairs, what do you got, Reedy? What do you got? I'm sort of in a hurry. I said, the bottom line is your duct is too small for your unit. I said, so are you in love with the duct? Nope, but I don't want to buy a new duct system either. I said, okay, are you in love with the unit? That's too expensive too. I said, what do you want me to do?
You could lock it on low.
Well, it's a green speed, so you can't do that either. And I told him, I said, what would you like me to do? And he said, well, if it's not outrageous, then, give me a price. I said, okay. I said, what's your outrageous mean? He didn't tell me. And I waited and waited and waited. And so I finally said, look, if we change this duct system, it's probably going to be somewhere between 15,000 and 17,000. And I said, that's for this one. He goes, well, I ain't doing that. I said, okay, you want to change your equipment? Nope. I said, what do you want to do? He said, I'm just going to let it ride. And I said, okay. And that's the end of that.
Did you give him his likely load range so he knows he doesn't need to change the duct?
I didn't have to. Well, I went on the equipment, and it shows what it runs, where it runs. And,
so you just show him like, hey, it's only running at half.
Yeah.
On high.
Yeah. And I mean, on the Infinity controller, it says put in a clean filter or change the duct system. I did literally no work at all. I pointed to that and I showed him that, and he says, I put this duct system in 35 years ago and it is just fine.
Is it if the equipment was properly sized?
Yeah, it is. If in that space he's got a 3-ton, yet again, it's another opportunity. Even though it's an old building, an old house, he's got an opportunity, put a 2-ton in there and it would run just fine.
Okay.
But he had a 3-ton in there before. They put this 3-ton in there, and now he's got 1.7. So, and that was the high one. The low one was 1.4.
Oh,
which even still, like, would that duct system still work even with changing out the equipment? Because if you're at 1.7 at 1200-ish CFM, even, I mean, dropping to 800, I mean, that is a big jump, but I don't know what that would be. But if you're starting at 1.7, like, that's impressive, honestly. Like, that's
I've
crazy.
never seen one that high. I've never seen one that high. The problem is that they put the biggest blower on there, and the technology wasn't great on the Infinities at that point in time. So even though it's a variable speed, it doesn't necessarily bring the fan.
It doesn't ramp down enough.
Right. Now, on today's piece of equipment, it would do it. Because my 3-ton green speed, I got a 005 blower on it, and that bad boy will go 270 CFM anytime I need for it to. But his...
Could you change his air handler?
Not anymore, because it won't work.
Right.
And
wrong refrigerant.
Yeah. I told him, I said, the best thing you can do is wait until you're ready to change the equipment. I said, let's do a comfort consult. And I said, we can know at that point in time what to do. And he said, okay. And that was that.
Oh, so you're going to go back?
Yeah. Whenever it fails,
Oh, okay. He doesn't want the comfort consult now. He wants to wait till it fails.
Yeah, and I believe when it fails, because he's sort of an arrogant man, I believe when it fails, he's not going to do it then either.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
But he'll just do the 2-ton.
yeah,
And
I
you'll be
hope he
okay.
will. I hope he will. If he'll do a 2-ton, he'll be just fine. I think.
Okay.
You know, if he has to do any duct modifications, it'll be minimal at
Right.
best.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Which-
if it's not, it's going to be more. It's going to be a lot of money.
Yeah.
The beauty of it is that
Good news is we can keep that beautiful ductwork of yours.
yeah, that you
Yeah.
put in 35 years ago and had sealed. So
We could take off some of it. We could poke some holes in it so it leaks the way it used to.
I mean, when he told me, when he said he had it sealed, and yet I know that he's got high static pressure, the company that did the sealing told him it'll make it more efficient.
Oh no.
I mean,
Oh no.
that's what, and
Does
I
he have
look.
is his where does his ductwork go outside or is it all inside?
No, it's in the attic. It's bizarre because it goes in the attic, through the conditioned space, back in the attic, through the conditioned space, back in the attic, through the conditioned space. It goes through the conditioned space 4 times.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and
And this
I
is
asked
one of
him,
4 systems?
huh?
And this is one of 4 systems, you said?
That's one of 4. Yeah.
Good Lord.
Holy cow.
I asked him when the duct was
Crazy
sealed.
house.
Yeah. I asked him when that duct was sealed. He said he thought it was last year, but it could have been early this year. But on March the 9th, he had 127 excessive static readings. So I imagine it was done March the 8th.
Yeah.
And it went
It
out of
must-
warranty March the 17th.
It's probably some pretty leaky duct before. If he
Yeah.
wasn't getting high static readings.
Yeah, because they didn't
Holy
have
cow.
anything, nothing. The
That's
only thing
crazy.
he had was on the in 2015 when they initially put it in. You always get the wrong heaters or that it's not communicating or something like that because
Yeah.
that's initial. But that was the only fail he had. It was that date in March, the 9th.
Wow,
So
funny.
that was bizarre.
Yeah. Well,
Tanner, you got some? Got some stories?
let's see. Well, I've got one. Yeah, I've got one sort of story, and then I have one funny story that made me think of while Reedy was telling me.
Tell the
saying
funny
that.
one first so I can hear it.
Which this one, it really all it was is I was working in an area where I'd got a call. It was from someone that wasn't an existing customer, and they were inquiring about adding a dryer vent, and they were on the way of where I was coming from, going back to my house, and so I was like, sure, I'll just swing by, blah blah blah, and it was an Indian guy, and so on the phone it was a little bit difficult to kind of understand some of the things he was asking because he evidently had some weird venting problem going on and he needed help with it. So I went out there, and the reason that what you were saying was making when you were saying how the guy you was dealing with was like kind of arrogant. He said, well, if it's reasonable, and you was asking, okay, what is reasonable? That same exact thing happened with this guy, where we're going over all these things like it's a dryer vent. It's stupid simple, not
Right.
a lot to it. I was just kind of going out mostly just to be like, yeah, we'll take care of this, and then I'll try to swing in, like kind of take the HVAC part, on the back end of just doing something simple. Well, go out. I was there for like an hour because I could not get away. I knew 20 minutes in that I was going to be pricing this I didn't know what I knew. I was just going to price it to make sure he said no. That was my only goal.
Oh yeah.
Because it was, he was like, we're talking about all these different things. He wasn't really understanding some like obvious constraint problems of what we were having because his laundry room was in a central area. He had a 2x4 studded wall that was the only cavity for it to go in a wall and down, and he was wanting to slide his dryer back further. So we had no room to do stuff. But he's like, I'm an engineer, so I understand these things. And then we proceed to have the longest discussion on some of the dumbest things that you can talk about.
He's trying to show you how smart he is, and
Yeah,
the more he talks, the stupider he
yeah.
looks.
And so we get to the end, and I go, well, like, before I send you any prices, like, just to kind of get around, like, what was you expecting this to cost? Because he kind of hinted towards something like, yeah, that, like, he would be like, this is very important, to like, but if it's not reasonable, and I'd be like, okay, well, what was you expecting this to be? And it's like, well, I really don't know. And I'm like, okay, well, you said that if it wasn't reasonable, that you would probably just wait. Well, what would be reasonable? Like, what would make you just not wait? And he goes, oh, well, I don't know. And I'm like, so, what?
$50,000.
Yeah. And then he goes, oh, but when you send it to me, I'll know. And it's like, oh, so we don't know now. You got to get a number for me before you could send it. And I just go, okay, so like, if I told you it's $5,000, and he goes, oh, well, definitely not that. And okay, well, where's the point at which, it's because the reason I'm asking this question is because I'm making sure if it's 2,000, I'm going to price it to 2,100.
You didn't want to do it.
No. I was 20 minutes in, and I was like, yeah, sure, it was in a targeted area that I was wanting to pick up, but I was like, I don't want to deal with this.
Whenever they say reasonable, that is so ridiculous. It's the biggest tell in the world.
Oh yeah. Which to me, like, usually when that gets said, like, I want to know, okay, when you say reasonable, like, exactly what does that mean? Is it a price thing, or is it a perceived value? Like, reasonable is, okay, Joe Schmo and Chuck in a truck that does terrible work, you're not going to pay very much for that, but you might be willing to pay more for something that you feel like you're getting your value out of. Like, what does reasonable mean to you?
Right.
But when they're just using it as I'm trying to get you to say the cheapest thing possible, that's where it's like,
yeah,
okay.
The but 9.5.
What number did you give him?
Well, so I'd sent him numbers, and he had already said no, and he was like, yeah, we'll just wait on it, because I finally through email got that $1,000 was his reasonable number. So I went, it's going to be 1,800. Sorry.
Good for you.
Yeah, because it was going to be kind of even though it was a dryer, it was going to be hard to get to and kind of a pain. And because one of the things of why he was like, why it was a big problem for him, because he's like, we have to do laundry, and we can't have it down for too long, because he said his wife has an autoimmune condition, and so they can't like wash their clothes outside of their house. Like, they can't bring in outside stuff. And so that was kind of like, okay, well, we might I thought I might be able to kind of tie together some upsells.
Right.
Yeah, to kind of go, okay, well, if we're doing your laundry event right now, but like if these things are worried, what other kind of issues do you have? What if we look at some of these other things? I noticed your HVAC's really old, and go into stuff like that. But it didn't take long for me to be like, oh God, like I spent an hour talking about dryer vents. Just imagine if we got into
talking about furnaces and
we start going into large media filters, fresh air, HVAC. Be like, I mean, that 6 functions video is good, but it ain't that good.
Right. He can watch it on his own time. He's the engineer after all.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'd be.
Well, we do want it. We do. Ultimately, we want to get it to the point where people do as much of that before you get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you can send them the free quote process and have them do most of it, then you hit the ground re-asking questions they thought of.
Right.
And they're going to give better answers if they've already answered the question once and then had some time to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's we're a ways off for that, I think.
Yeah. Well, guys, I'm going to get
Reedy.
See you later.
Great to see you. I think
great to see you guys. Bye.
Maybe we can wrap this up and then go to the after, Tanner.
Sounds good.
Talk cars.
Yeah. Which I do have one other my other story I've not I have priced it's just a blower door test and some other testing for 4,500 that there's probably a good chance that I'm going to be doing, which will turn into more over at the fire hydrant plant.
Okay.
They've got a compressor room with some very expensive liquid cooled compressors that they're wanting to keep clean, and so I gave them a price on doing some testing and design for figuring out what is going to be needed in order to pressurize that room, keep it at a
Pressurize the room.
at a constant pressure, and having a filter set up. And
Yeah.
so looking like potentially something could come from that.
Oh, that'd be nice.
I'd say it'd be the most expensive blower door test I've
Yeah.
done. That's for sure.
Oh my gosh. You're gonna have to get some kind of a spray foam guy there.
Yeah, I don't know. They're not worried about temperature control because the compressors are liquid cooled or water
Mhm.
cooled. So it's mainly just keeping it dust free. So what my strategy of what I'm going to do is essentially use my blower door to figure out uh, how many CFM does it need to be pressurized with at its current condition to reach different levels of pressure, see what that is, and then look at some obvious sealing
Air
points that
sealing,
can be
yeah.
done, and see like, okay, what what's it currently sitting at, what can we do to drop that, and then figure out, now, obviously as tight as we can get it reasonably makes it, we have a smaller fan that we need to do and utilize, then we're not bringing in as much outside air, so then we're not dirtying up filters as fast. But
Right.
you've seen that place. It's not a like, you know,
Nah, it's gonna be
it,
dust. You're gonna be
yeah,
changing filters no matter
it's
how little airflow
yeah,
you got.
yeah, it's going to be
So you
dusty, and
really
there's
so
nothing.
you're gonna wanna air seal that room.
Yeah,
You
that would,
probably do it with kits, I guess.
yeah, may, I gotta go take a better look at it because there's some places where there's such large gaps, and it's places where like it's an industrious environment. Like just because you seal something up doesn't mean it's going to stay sealed. So I'm going to have to like kind of predict what is a worst case scenario if things start to kind of come apart type thing, and whatever we
Oh,
do, is it going to be able to handle, we got to have some margins of error to go, okay, Joe Blow with the tow motor or forklift came by and ripped off the siding and they pushed it back together. How's that going to hold up? Like there's going to need to be some
wiggle room.
margin of error, yeah, wiggle room there, because that's like in that environment that stuff happens often.
Okay.
If they tear something up and they just put it back in place for a little bit until they actually fix it, like if they don't want dust getting in during those times, then they're gonna need a fan in order to handle something like that, and that's what I'm hoping to figure out once if they decide they want to move forward, go out
Hmm,
and test everything out and kind of get a baseline for that.
okay.
But that's all I've got.
Well, if anybody wants to see where Eric and I talk about the numbers, um, I'll include the link to that. And otherwise, let's go to after.
Let's do it. Well, all right. Thanks everybody for coming out, and we'll catch you again in 2 weeks.
Thank you.